thanks for coming out today, everybody. I really appreciate it. My name's Bridget Shea. I'm the Travis County Commissioner from Precinct 2. Climate change and its impact on people has been a primary focus for me for the last 28 years. Joining me today is Mayor Steve Adler. We attended the historic Paris Climate Summit last December, and it was there that we broached the idea of the book club with the Rockefeller Foundation. KXAN Chief Weathercaster Jim Spencer, who's been a leading voice for years about the connections between our changing climate and violent weather. Austin Fire Department Wildfire Division Manager Justice Jones is here prior to heading up the new Austin Wildfire Division, where they've won national recognition for their neighborhood education and outreach programs. He was in charge of similar programs for the Texas Forest Service. Next to him is Lake Travis Fire and Rescue Assistant Chief Rick Tess, and he's going to talk about their 2016 National Wildfire Mitigation Innovation Award, which they just won. And it's one of the highest honors given for wildfire preparedness work. And finally, Austin Fire Department Division Chief over Special Operations and Homeland Security, Larry Jansen. And he's going to talk about the AFD and Travis County flood preparedness programs and a new flood modeling program that was created at UT and will be launched nationally by the National Weather Service this summer. It's kind of fitting there was a threat of bad weather over the weekend and into today, and particularly that we're here at CTEC, which is a remarkable accomplishment by itself in that it is a combined center for all emergency management and operations. When something goes wrong, this place comes alive and everyone is here coordinating on the response. It's a little like telling NOAA about the flood for us to say that Central Texas is being hit with increasingly violent weather, from drought to flash floods to wildfires and more. And all the weather and climate projections say basically the same thing. We will see greater and greater extremes of violent and destructive weather. With that in mind, we're launching an effort today to help people be better prepared. One of our goals is to knit together the many excellent and award-winning programs in Central Texas to create a model community weather disaster preparedness program that can be shared and exported around the country. And you'll hear some details about those remarkable efforts that are already underway. A piece of that effort is what we're launching today with the Community Book Club. I want to especially thank the Rockefeller Foundation. They've donated 100 copies of their president's book, The Resilience Dividend, which includes disaster case studies that can help our community be better prepared. We think this book can help people look at their homes and their surroundings with fresh eyes and ask, what can we do to be better prepared for violent weather? We're distributing the books through the Austin Public Library, the 10 libraries outside the city system like Lake Travis, Westlake, etc., as well as the more than 20 small cities in Travis County, and of course the first responders in our areas, including the emergency services districts. In the book, the author Judith Roden describes resilience as the capacity of any entity, an individual, community, organization, or natural system to prepare for disruptions, to recover from shocks and stresses, and to adapt and grow from disruptive experience. We know more destructive weather is coming. We hope this book club will be one of the many tools we can create to help our residents better prepare and bounce back stronger and wiser. I'm delighted to be doing this in collaboration with our largest partner, the City of Austin. I'm honored to be joined by our mayor today, Steve Adler.
Commissioner, thank you for your leadership on this issue and in starting off this community conversation. Thank you to our staff and to our first responders. We're going to highlight today some of the stellar work that goes on every day in our city, in our county, and please know that the community is thankful and appreciative for the work that you do to protect us all. This book about resilience could also be entitled, in fact I think that it's subtitled, Being Strong in a World Where Things Go Wrong. It's a book about when things don't happen the way that we would like them to happen. Resilience is about how we react to those things, how we plan in advance to be able to react to those things. We're highlighting here today, as you can tell from the comments and from the people that are speaking, the need for for resilience and the challenges that the world's facing right now. The author of this book, Judith Roden, focused on three things. She focused on globalization, she focused on climate change, and she focused on urbanization. I'm going to hit those last two real quickly, because climate change is something that we're dealing with. We all know about extreme weather in the city of Austin. We are the most flash flood prone area in the world. It's something that is not something we know will eventually happen, but it's beginning to look like it's something that is beginning to hit us all the time. And by that I mean every year. During the October floods, Texas military forces mobilized about 100 citizen soldiers to help. We had the 176th Engineer Brigade activated to support water rescues in our city, emergency evacuations, our first responders out saving lives. And we can also count on seeing the effects of climate change not only in our area. We've already seen 4,000 Katrina evacuees in our city, 1,600 Ike evacuees come to our city. All these things impact who we are. All these things are challenges that we need to respond to and deal with. And we know that we need to prepare for these not as something that might happen in the future, but something that we know will happen and could very well happen every year. When we talk about resilience, and as people are talking about this book, and hopefully the conversation we have, I also think we need to talk about the urban challenges we have in the same light, the urbanization that this author talks about. Because the urbanization that we're dealing with, the impact on affordability in our city, the cost of housing in our city, the lack of supplies, losing people and losing communities in our city, is also one of the most severe challenges that we face. And we have to become more resilient. We have to learn better how to be strong and prepared in the face of the affordability and mobility challenges that we face as well. This is a great conversation, Commissioner. Thank you for teeing us off.
Thank you for that. Thanks. Jim? Jim really has been one of the leading people in the weather community, helping to educate folks about the connection between the changing climate and the severe weather impacts, and has been doing that for over 26 years, so I'm delighted to have him join us today.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I have seen a lot of severe weather events in my 25 years forecasting the weather here in Central Texas, but it seems like lately they have been multiplying exponentially. I think back to the 91 Lake Travis flood, the all-time greatest flood on Lake Travis. Then in my recollection, it seems like we went several years without anything too catastrophic. Then, of course, we had the 1997 Gerald F5 tornado. We've never had an F5 tornado in this part of the state in recorded history until May 27th, 1997. Could that have happened without the effects of climate change? Certainly. Was there more energy in the atmosphere on that given day because the planet is warmer? Very likely. But since that time, we continue to see more frequent and more severe events, and studies are showing one after another now that these are related to our warming planet. Just think about last year, 2 500-year floods. We saw a rise in the Blanco River down in Hayes County that we believe has not happened in 500 years, looking at the trees that were destroyed and the tree ring data. We have 500-year floods, it seems now, on a regular basis. And then terrible wildfires. Think about the 2011 to 2012 drought. We had in a 12-month period 7.77 inches of rain. In 12 months, our normal is 34 inches. We had 7.77 inches. Looking back at tree ring data, we think that summer of 2011 was the most intense summer drought we've seen probably since the 1780s. And so the problem is we can get the warnings out. We're getting very good with that with Doppler radar. We can see the tornadoes up in the storm or the rotation 20 minutes often before they touch down. We get the warning out now to people, but how do they react? Or do they react at all? And so when Commissioner Shea told me about this project, I said, that's the answer. We have to get people to have plans for themselves and for their families. And so we're hopeful that this book club will lead the way in making people aware that you have to have a safety plan for yourself and for your family. That is our number one problem that we face is We can tell people it's time to take action, but then what action do they take? Do they even know what to take? And I think this is a good step forward in getting people to understand the importance of preparedness and resilience. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And we're also thrilled to have Justice Jones, the Austin Fire Department Wildfire Division Manager. That division has won national recognition for its outreach and preparedness work. And he's also going to introduce Rick Tess, who's the Assistant Chief of Lake Travis Fire and Rescue. He's done.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea. I'm excited and honored to be here. We always like to brag that everything's bigger in Texas, and the reality, that's as true with wildfire as anything. We lead the nation in the number of acres burned and number of fires that occur. What's really concerning is the majority of those fires occur within about 2 miles of community, over 85% of them. So almost every fire that happens in Texas has the potential to threaten something that we care about. And so the first step for us in addressing our issues with wildfire risk is to come to awareness of that risk. That's the first step to moving past any challenge. But we want to move our community, both in Austin and Travis County, past that risk awareness stage into the resiliency as quick as possible. We work very closely with our partners across the city and county as a part of our Austin Travis County Wildfire Coalition, which is the foundation for our wildfire resiliency efforts here and throughout the county and to some degree in Central Texas. We take a three-pronged approach of ensuring that our landscapes are resilient to wildfire, they can experience wildfire and bounce back as rapidly as possible, that our community is resilient to wildfire, a built environment, but more importantly, psychologically resilient, so they can experience events that we're having in Central Texas without the long-term psychological impacts that we've seen in communities across the nation where individuals weren't prepared for what's coming. So our key to resiliency from a wildfire standpoint starts with changing hearts and minds, changing people's understanding of how they relate to their environment, ensuring that they live in a way that's compatible so we can sit back and enjoy this wonderful community that we all live in and care about. Our key to overall wildfire resiliency is a cultural shift away from being at risk from wildfire to being empowered to take ownership of our role in reducing that risk. And we're lucky to have some really valuable partners in that fight against wildfire, both in the city and county. I would like to introduce Chief Tess with Lake Travis Fire and Rescue. They're one of the few recipients from the IAFC, the International Association of Fire Chiefs Wildfire Mitigation Award. That's a national honor of the highest order, and we're so excited to share in that honor with our partners in Lake Travis and Fire Rescue. So Chief Tess, I'd like to introduce you with further ado. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice. After the 2011 fires, Steiner Ranch primarily was ground zero in our area. Efforts were started to start dealing with this more seriously than it had been in the past. I think through all the efforts of Justice's group, our group, and the cities and just residents in general in western Travis County, we've made great strides. There's a lot to be done still. And collaboratively, we're working together to expand our programs as we speak. So thanks to Justice and his group, Commissioner Shea, for your support. We can continue our efforts to make it a much safer environment. Western Travis County, as you know, is probably the most problematic area when it comes to wildfire. All areas are subject to having problems, but on a map, we're the bullseye right there at Lake Travis. So again, thank you. We're proud to have received that national recognition. We couldn't have done it alone without our partners, so thank you.
And finally, we're going to hear from Larry Jansen. He's the Austin Fire Department Division Chief over Special Operations and Homeland Security, and he's going to talk about Austin Fire Department and Travis County flood preparedness programs and a new flood modeling program that was created at UT and will be launched nationally by the National Weather Service this summer.
That's correct. Thank you, Commissioner Shea. As we've already heard from several of the speakers, the Central Texas region is appropriately nicknamed Flash Flood Alley. We deal with a large number of flooding incidents, and that number of incidents seems to be on the rise. And not only just the number of incidents, but incidents of catastrophic proportions. Public safety response agencies around the country have a responsibility to prepare for and effectively respond to these types of incidents. And not that we haven't been able to effectively respond in the past, but every year we get better and better about it because we learn from the lessons of previous incidents and occurrences. We've increased our equipment capabilities across the region, not only Austin and Travis County, but within our 10-county region. We've increased our education programs. That's one of the main things that we want to collaborate with Travis County on, is educating the public on how they can keep themselves safe during a flood incident. Turn around, don't drown, don't drive through low water crossings, don't drive through flooded water. A lot of times people stay safer in their home than they would if they tried to leave it and go through a low water crossing or an area of increasing danger severity. Mapping and planning is also a key component to being able to prepare for and respond to those types of incidents and recover from them afterwards. We want to get our community back up and running as quickly as possible. A program that started out at several locations and finally got put together in one through the University of Texas is called the National Flood Interoperability Experiment. It's a real good look at all of existing datas and sources of that data that were not compiled and used together to make good, quick, accurate predictions. So accessing all those data points, putting that data into useful information, running it through a supercomputer at the University of Texas, we can spit out prediction data in about 10 minutes for 2.7 million stream sections in the nation. That's a very, very timely and significant data point that emergency responders and people in a community can better prepare for and then respond to and then subsequently recover from. We've worked on different levels of maps that predict flood inundation levels. We've got more flood gauges in the streams out there now. All of that data is going to be compiled and spit out more efficiently, more effectively, and more timely, so that we can respond quicker and we can evacuate areas that need to be evacuated sooner, so that those folks are not placed in a situation of peril. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is an example of a couple of the national and award-winning programs that are really kind of coming to fruition in Austin and Central Texas, and some examples of the kinds of things that can be knitted together to create a comprehensive community preparedness disaster program. And that's one of the things that we want to work toward, because every community needs better tools, every citizen is better served, and the first responders are better served if people know what to do and can help get themselves out of harm's way. And we really appreciate the Rockefeller Foundation for the donation of these books to that end. Thank you all so much for coming out. Really appreciate it.